The image was stark, unsettling. A simple handwritten note clutched in the darkness, pleading for attention. "Help!" it screamed in shaky letters. "Wendy!" This desperate message, allegedly dropped from the window of an upscale Manhattan assisted living facility, belonged to none other than Wendy Williams, the once ubiquitous talk show queen. This jarring incident, a desperate cry for help piercing the carefully constructed narrative surrounding Williams's life, sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and beyond. It forced a public reckoning with the fragility of fame, the complexities of mental health, and the often harrowing realities of guardianship. The NYPD, responding to an anonymous tip, descended upon the facility, their presence a stark reminder of the fallen star's current reality. No longer gracing daytime screens with her signature wit and candor, Williams found herself at the center of a very different kind of drama. This was not a staged celebrity breakdown, easily spun by publicists into a tale of triumph over adversity. This was a raw, unfiltered glimpse into a life seemingly unraveling. The wellness check, triggered by that heart-wrenching plea, painted a disturbing picture of isolation, despair, and a desperate struggle for autonomy. The luxurious facade of Williams's assisted living facility, with its promise of comfort and care, belied a far more troubling reality. For Williams, the facility felt less like a sanctuary and more like a gilded cage. She chafed against the restrictions, the constant monitoring, the limitations placed upon her every move. Her world, once expansive and under her control, had shrunk to the confines of this controlled environment. Visitors were strictly limited, her communications monitored, her freedom severely curtailed. Even seemingly mundane activities like venturing outside or receiving guests were subject to the approval of her guardians. This loss of control, this stripping away of her agency, fueled a simmering rage within Williams. She railed against what she perceived as an intolerable situation, her voice echoing her growing frustration and despair. The woman who once reigned supreme over daytime television, her name synonymous with sharp wit and fearless commentary, now found herself trapped in a Kafkaesque nightmare. The world, accustomed to seeing her command attention from behind a microphone, now bore witness to her very public struggle. Wendy Williams, the self-made mogul who built an empire on her own terms, was now a ward of the state, her life dictated by court orders and the decisions of others. The irony was not lost on anyone. This fierce advocate for transparency, this woman who built a career on dissecting the lives of others, was now at the center of a story shrouded in secrecy and speculation. Her once familiar catchphrases and signature sass were replaced by hushed whispers and concerned murmurs. The woman who thrived on the spotlight now found herself desperately seeking refuge from its harsh glare. At the heart of this unsettling saga lay a bitter legal battle, a fight for control over Williams' life and legacy. On one side stood her court-appointed guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, entrusted with the immense responsibility of overseeing the star's well-being and finances. Morrissey, citing concerns about Williams's cognitive health and decision-making capacity, painted a picture of a woman in desperate need of protection. Her public statements, carefully crafted and delivered with an air of professional concern, emphasized the need for ongoing care and supervision. On the other side stood Williams herself, defiant and determined to reclaim her autonomy. She vehemently disputed the need for guardianship, railing against what she perceived as a gross overreach of power. Her voice, though at times shaky and uncertain, carried the unmistakable ring of truth as she proclaimed her desire to manage her own affairs and make her own choices. This clash, a battle of wills playing out in courtrooms and media headlines, highlighted the often fraught nature of guardianship, a system designed to protect the vulnerable yet ripe for potential abuse. Section 5. Conflicting narratives, dementia diagnosis, and vehement denials. Fueling the controversy surrounding Williams's situation were the conflicting narratives surrounding her health. A diagnosis of dementia revealed publicly amidst the legal wrangling cast a long shadow over the proceedings. Morrissey, citing this diagnosis as evidence of Williams's incapacity, argued for continued guardianship, emphasizing the need for ongoing medical care and supervision. This revelation, so deeply personal and potentially stigmatizing, added another layer of complexity to an already tangled web. Williams, however, vehemently denied any cognitive impairment, attributing her erratic behavior and public outbursts to the frustrations of her confinement and the medications she was being administered. Her denials, passionate and at times laced with anger, raised troubling questions about the accuracy of the diagnosis and the motivations behind the guardianship itself. This stark contrast, a battle between medical pronouncements and personal testimonies, underscored the challenges of assessing mental capacity and the potential for misdiagnosis and exploitation. Section 6. Lost in the system, a shocking lack of medical care. Perhaps the most disturbing revelation to emerge from this unsettling saga was the apparent lack of consistent medical care provided to Williams during her time in the facility. Reports surfaced suggesting that she had not seen a doctor for an extended period, despite her dementia diagnosis and her repeated pleas for medical attention. This shocking lapse in care raised serious questions about the facility's commitment to her well-being and the adequacy of the oversight provided by her guardian. The image of a woman of Williams's stature, a household name accustomed to a certain level of privilege and access, being neglected in this manner was deeply unsettling. It hinted at a darker reality within the assisted living system, one where profit margins and legal maneuvering often overshadowed the fundamental needs of the vulnerable individuals entrusted to their care. Section 7. The price of fame, vulnerability and exploitation in the spotlight. Williams's ordeal served as a stark reminder of the often precarious nature of fame and the vulnerabilities it can expose. Here was a woman who had spent decades building a successful career, amassing wealth and influence, only to find herself stripped of her agency and autonomy at a time of great personal need. Her very public struggles laid bare the dark side of celebrity, the way in which fame can attract opportunists and exploiters eager to profit from weakness and misfortune. The media scrutiny, relentless and unforgiving, only exacerbated her plight. Every public outburst, every tearful plea, every moment of vulnerability became fodder for headlines and clickbait articles. The woman who once commanded the airwaves now found herself at the mercy of a 24/7 news cycle that seemed more interested in sensationalizing her struggles than offering empathy or understanding. The Section 8. Echoes of Britney parallels and the fight for guardianship reform. The Williams case, with its troubling allegations of abuse and exploitation, drew inevitable comparisons to the highly publicized conservatorship battle fought by pop icon Britney Spears. Both cases highlighted the potential for guardianship to morph from a protective measure into a tool of control, stripping individuals of their fundamental rights and silencing their voices. The parallels were striking, with both women finding themselves at odds with their court-appointed guardians, their pleas for freedom dismissed as evidence of their alleged incapacity. These high-profile cases, unfolding against the backdrop of a growing movement for guardianship reform, ignited a national conversation about the often hidden abuses within the system. Advocates called for greater transparency, stricter oversight, and a shift in focus from protecting assets to ensuring the well-being and autonomy of those under guardianship. Section 9. A call for compassion, rethinking mental health and guardianship. In the aftermath of Williams's harrowing ordeal, a collective sense of unease lingered. Her story, a cautionary tale of fame, fortune, and the fragility of mental health, forced a long overdue reckoning with the complexities of guardianship and the often inadequate systems meant to support those living with cognitive impairments. It served as a stark reminder of the need for greater compassion, understanding, and advocacy in addressing the needs of the most vulnerable members of society. The conversation sparked by Williams's plight extended far beyond the realm of celebrity gossip. It touched upon fundamental questions of autonomy, dignity, and the right to self-determination. It underscored the urgent need for a more nuanced and humane approach to mental health care, one that prioritizes individual agency and empowers those living with cognitive differences to live full and meaningful lives.